is Rossi Bites.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Brian here with Rossi Bites. I'm here with my buddy Aaron of Master the Robots, and he has something really exciting to share with us today. So Aaron, how's it going, buddy?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Doing great.
Good, good. Thanks for
It's
having me on.
Friday. It's Friday.
Yeah, man. Good talking to you as usual.
Same.
Uh, Beautiful sunny day out. I'll be happy to get out and enjoy that in here in a second. But before we do that, I'd like to kind of walk you through some stuff I've been working on. So the big part of what's going on right now with AI is this prompt driven development. I know you've been doing some of this and other people have been experimenting, and I think it's just this new burgeoning kind of capability that really takes out of the picture this whole concept of having to go get a computer science degree or even having to go to coding boot camps. It's like a no code way of being able to develop applications. So the barrier to entry for application developers is drastically reduced.
For sure.
My whole philosophy with this whole thing has always been like, don't let AI scare you into thinking it's coming for your job. Leverage it to do more, to build better, to review your code. So I'll show you what I've been up to and kind of how you can become a developer, so to speak,
Yeah.
in
Awesome.
very short order.
Yeah, and to dovetail off of that, I always say too, like it's not here to replace us. We're super creative as human beings as it is, and I view it more as augmenting what we do to make
Yeah,
what we do great, even better and more streamlined. So
yeah,
totally
absolutely.
agree.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a bigger part of what I'm after with my Master the Robots project is just enablement, empowerment, helping people master the robots. Like take control of their life, their career, and just remove the anxiety and fear, and really take a proactive approach to adopting technology. So um, let's jump into it, man. So I
Yeah.
kind of started with a clean slate here. One thing I'm gonna just kind of walk through some tools and give people a sense of what's going on here. Okay.
Now, is this really you, or did you swap yourself out with an AI clone?
Oh, you'll never know, man. That's the beauty of this whole thing. In 5 years, that won't be as funny. You'll be really wondering. Um, so let me kind of get into the nuts and bolts of this.
Yeah.
The tools at play here are inexpensive, and that's the kind of main thing I want to talk about. Or the first thing I want to talk about is, I would say for about $50 a month, you can be a developer. I mean, that's really the kind of bottom line here. The
Yep.
tools I'm going to show you don't cost more than $50 a month, and that gives you the ability to basically build an entire full stack application. I built an entire one last night that is a React application using Node, using Postgres SQL database, using Heroku, which is a great hosting environment. I use a free SSL certificate service. I don't know if you know about all these too, Brian, but yeah. So I got it. I got it right here. I'll share my screen, and you can either sort of crop this or whatever you want to do. But so these are the biggest costs, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna,
Let's encrypt. Let's encrypt. I use that.
yeah. So this is kind of the stack, right? And this is the cost, and this is estimated, but it's about $20 a month for Cursor, $20 a month for the basic tier of ChatGPT. That's the most expensive part of this whole thing. And those not only help you, the ChatGPT not only helps you become a developer, but it's just generally useful
Yeah.
technology. So it'll help you with all sorts of stuff. So I would recommend the ChatGPT regardless of what you want to do in life. But you add Cursor to that, all of a sudden you're a developer. Heroku allows you to productionize, deploy those applications that you build, if they're web apps, onto a production site. So your .com or whatever can be hosted. Everything else is free. GitHub's free, Docker's free, Postgres is free, OAuth is free, Let's Encrypt, that's the SSL service. All that's free. It's amazing what's free. And then, of course, you got Python and GitHub and all these things that really enable you to do this whole development stack. It's
Yeah.
all
So
just
for
open
like,
source.
So for like $50, I could dream up an app and build it out, actually put it up on a infrastructure that people can access it through, and actually start asking them to pay for it. Hook it up to Stripe or
Oh
something
yeah,
for payments, and I got a SaaS business.
exactly. And that the business is the key word there, because you don't have to stop with that one application. You are a software company at that point.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, you can produce one application after another after another. I've written browser plugins, I've written iOS apps, I've written full stack web apps. The sky's the limit. I mean, there really is. So and this works on Mac or PC. So everything I'm showing you here, this is a PC that I'm running it on. AI is, you're going to be your coding mentor, right? Think of ChatGPT and Cursor work hand in hand and help you to develop the prompts to develop. Prompts are basically just human language things. You're speaking to a computer. I can literally talk to a microphone and say, "Hey, build a web page," and it will just and it pops out a web page, and
yeah.
it will deploy it, and it'll get it download all the tools for you. I'll just take you through it because it's kind of, it's best just seen in action. So I started this like brand new project. Whenever you're in Cursor, you just simply select a folder and you start going, right, and it's just blank, right, like because there's nothing in that folder whatsoever. I haven't typed any words. I haven't created any files. No, I'll
I
go
was
ahead.
I was gonna crack a joke too, like how much did the PowerShell command prompt cost?
Yeah, really. Yeah. That's a not, yeah, Chrome. Oh God, it's crazy what you get for free, isn't it? I
That's
mean,
right.
it's just wild. I mean, we're basically writing this script on the fly with ChatGPT, rewriting it with ChatGPT, and it's it's just our cheat sheet here for getting going. And
Yeah, yeah.
this is our AI's under the covers as our cheat code for all of this stuff.
That's right.
Um, so the other thing is, as you're building, this thing is just going to explain what you need to download, what you need to do. And you're not seeing anything here, right? Like this is just a big blank black space. But the cool part is right here. When you toggle the AI pane, this thing called Composer is your absolute cheat code to life. And you'll notice that it's running Claude Sonnet. There's other models that it can run under the hood. If you're familiar with OpenAI, you're familiar with ChatGPT are these GPT models and these O1 models and these O3 models. Claude is a fantastic coder. So, over time, the different models kind of compete and become better at different things. I just find that ChatGPT is just a better coder. So I use that. But if you're having trouble, maybe there's something specific that you're trying to do, you can jump over to the different ones and experiment. So let's just kind of kick something off here. Now,
So
I
now
am
with
going.
this using Claude, uh, does that dip into a different subscription because you're using an
No,
Anthropic?
nope. Yeah,
Okay.
it's paid for
Oh,
by
through
the
Cursor.
cursor.
Oh, great. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. That's a great hack.
Yeah. So, once you pay $20 a month for Cursor AI, you're basically paying for Claude. You can't use Claude separately. I can't use my Cursor license, I don't think, to access Claude directly. Now, it will slow down at times. There are limits. All these models run on things called tokens,
Yep.
and those tokens get reduced by the amount of interactions you have with it. So if I'm sit here for 5 days just chatting with it, it starts to bog down and have issues. And those things are getting a lot better with
Yeah.
the advent of things like DeepSeek and these less expensive LLMs that people are using. The first thing I like to do is create what's called a learnings file. And I'm just going to start talking to this thing and just show you what I'm talking about. You'll see this add context and, the sidebar. And I'll kind of explain some of those things as we go. But this is a trick that's not just built into this. This is just a technique I use. Create a learning file for a new project I'm going to have you work on. If you make mistakes, um, I want you to update your learnings.
Now, is this a prompt specific to Cursor, or is this a prompt
Nope.
that you use with other large language models as well?
Well, Cursor writes files, so
Yep.
you'll see, and I've been coding with it all day, so it's doing this slow request thing. You can pay for fast access. Hopefully, it's not going to be too slow. You can. So this is the cool thing. You see where it says generating right there? It's going to build a file. ChatGPT doesn't do that. This thing, look, boom. It just created a learnings file. So it's going to learn as we go. And I have this repeat pattern, right? Like I will give it an extremely good overview of what I'm trying to do, and then it'll take that in, and then it will attempt to start to work on a set of steps to produce what it is that I'm trying to do. And then I go back and forth with it, and I'll show you. And as we go back and forth, it's either right or it's wrong. It'll give me a good suggestion or a bad suggestion. If it gives me a suggestion that doesn't work, then when I feed that back to it, it will update the learnings file, and it constantly is rereading from that learnings file so that it doesn't repeat it and doesn't create these like endless loops of stupidity.
Well, and I'll
So
just throw in too, from using some of these AI code generation services. One of the things that frustrates me the most, number one, is that it constantly retypes an entire component file rather than
right,
just going in and doing like a diff on the file and like updating only what it needs to. The
yep,
other thing it does is it'll make an update to a component, but then it throws an error on some other component that it didn't know to, and you go into these endless loops like you said, where it's like, try to fix this,
yep,
ask such and such to fix this, and it's using tokens typically when you're doing that, so that
yeah,
gets really frustrating.
yeah, it's exactly right. And I'll show you some other tricks to kind of prevent some of that stuff. A lot of this is, you'll get if you when I first got started with this, I was just talking to it, it was building files, and I talked to it and built files. I didn't really know how to use the tool properly. I didn't know what all these different bells and whistles did, and so as I've started to learn those things, it's really helped my process here. And it's probably important to note that I was a developer. I will put that out there. I was a developer for a long time, but I was also not a developer for a long time. I haven't been a developer since 2008. Okay, not to age me, but I've been in technology. I've been in charge of building applications, maintaining applications, but I haven't written code in a long time. And so this is a really exciting development because it brings me back to my roots. So, that's important to note. Like, don't be discouraged if
Yeah.
you hear me talking about things that I already know because I've been spending 25 years in technology.
Well,
So
and
I'll
in
try.
that time frame too, 2008, there's probably even been evolutions in frameworks as a whole that didn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
exist back in
Oh, yeah.
2008.
A lot of that dust has settled, and there's a lot of really kind of best practices and that things that have become very, very popular. But as you learn, the different application may call for a different approach. So it's best to learn as you go, which is another.
Back in my day, I was a sick Q basic programmer, but
Uh,
that was like that was the last language I learned how to code in. So
you basic, yeah, yeah. It's like it's depends on your application, right? Like
yeah,
whatever you're doing, you might in school. I learned how to do assembly language, assembler.
yep.
It's like, oh my god, you're loading registers. It's just like the most mind-numbing form of development possible, and development just got easier and easier and easier and easier. You went from no library coding where you literally had to like manage your own memory to library based coding with like C++, where you had, reusable things that you could just insert or include into your programs. And then Java came out and you could do all this cool web stuff and you had these virtual machine concepts. And it just kind of blew up from there. So, I kind of saw the birth and transition of all that. So it's been kind of cool to see, this, right? And all the evolution up leading to this. And I knew it was kind of coming here. I was just really excited for the day that it actually made it. So, now I can just talk to my computer and boom.
Well, I was just
Uh,
going to say a segue back to your content here is that the fact that you're able to just say create a file to learn stuff in, and if you make mistakes, put that in the like, and it just spit the file out in front of our eyes.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And that's just the beginning, right? So this little accept all button, that's that's what I'll do right now. So now I have a file. You'll see it's right over here, learning.md. And then as we create more stuff, it'll just do that. It'll just start spitting out files and putting them in there. Now, you may have an existing set of project files you want to drag. Maybe you built it in another application like Bolt or something else. You might be collaborating with a team on something. They may give you some. If you just drag an entire project into this folder, this personal website folder, or whatever your project name is, um, you can have it recognize it. And if you just type at, you can do files, folders, or code base. So if I say code base, I can say any file extension that shows up here, I want you to go ahead and look at it, all of them, and it will already have read them.
But it
If I,
sounds like this would allow you to iterate on, like, say you're using like Bolt or Lovable,
yeah,
and you've got some source code, but maybe you use the trial and you're not paying for a membership and you want to use
right.
your cursor membership instead, you can
Yep.
bring that code into this project here and start collaborating with it.
Yes, exactly.
That just triggered light bulbs on in my head.
What did?
Being able to maybe cancel some of my other subscriptions.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I did do this, right? I've had like an old website that I downloaded from GitHub. I got all the files. I brought them down on this local machine, and then dragged them into the context window and said, "Hey, can you take a look at all these files and folders, and look at my learnings file, like learn again from a previous session I did on a whole different computer." And now it's like, oh yeah, I'm up to speed completely, like boom. So starting from scratch or starting from a different code base, maybe you even go out to GitHub and download a whole project and fork a project. You can drag it right into here and start contributing to that open source project tonight. I mean, that's how crazy this is. So anyway, we created a file here. And another thing I like to do is I immediately at the beginning of my projects, what I'll first do is I'll come to ChatGPT. I will use the most advanced reasoning model that they have, which is O3 Mini. I'm sorry, O3 Mini High. That's new. Mini High. God, they keep changing these. These names are ridiculous. Don't feel bad if you guys are like lost on LLM names. They are just the worst. These guys are geniuses.
It's like the new version of acronyms, 3-letter
Oh,
acronyms, but now it's with LLMs, and it's like O1, O3 Mini, O3 Mini High, GPT
yeah.
4.0.
Claude Sonnet, and there's so many. At least some people are starting to use like kind of cool names like Gemini. But then
Yeah.
even in Gemini, there's like there's Flash
Yep.
1.0 experimental, and all these different sub ones. There's a ton of these models, but don't worry about that. The most important thing is that you use the most advanced reasoning model, the most advanced version of what's out there to kind of get started. You need to start to learn when to use the better models for more important tasks, like things that are foundational to the project you're doing. So, if let's just say we want to build a project about, I want to create a personal website that looks pretty. Let's go find somebody's cool website. Who's got a cool website? Let's go to like Casey Neistat's website site. So Casey Neistat's big YouTuber. He has 12.6 million followers. I'm sure he's got a cool little personal website. Um,
Maybe.
yeah, this is his studio. Let's just try to copy this. It doesn't matter. Whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's just copy this guy. And I'm gonna say I want a personal website for my film studio business or side gig that looks like this, like shit, like this.
That's
That
going to be
looks,
the bloopers reel.
it looks like this, and has the basic capabilities. Now I'm not in Cursor, I'm in ChatGPT, and I'm here for a reason because I'm going to basically say, now I'm using cursor.ai to build this website, but I want you to create an amazing, so you don't have to spell right, by the way, anymore. Like spelling is out the window. An amazing prompt for cursor, as though you were the greatest product manager in the world and had a killer vision, but wanted, but knows how cursor thinks and structure your, I can't spell anymore, your prompt to optimize on that.
And just to chime in too, it may seem like it's taking a lot to come up with this prompt, but if you, just for people watching, like if you really think about how you would try to convey this to a developer, for example, you would want to be as articulate as you can, and you want to provide as many useful
Right.
details as you can. And in some cases, that involves injecting terms that you know that the developers are, comfortable with and familiar with. So throwing those types of cues in your prompt also helps to get you a better response from the LLM.
Yeah, I mean exactly. And if we
Because
weren't
if you
limited
just
on,
said I want a personal website, like
yeah, not good
you'd
enough.
get crap.
Right. The garbage in, garbage out. Right.
Exactly.
Gold in, value out. Think about it that way, right? Your very first input into this whole thing kind of lays the groundwork for the rest of the output. So always think about that in terms of that value chain. And if you it's hard to insert value halfway through once the garbage has started to permeate. So if I had more time, I would probably spell this out 10 times more. I'd go back and forth with it. Let's just kind of see what this small prompt does.
Kind of reminds me of when I've had some friends say, "Hey, can you take this VHS tape and like turn it into a Blu-ray, like a Blu-ray?"
Right.
It's like,
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I'm starting with junk.
Check out how O3 does this reasoning.
Oh yeah,
It kind of steps through its mental state, so to speak. Yeah, so look at this. The user is asking for a personal website for their film studio with a design that resembles one that references studio.com, blah, blah, blah. They're using cursor. They want a personal website, possibly dark mode. Uh, I suggest a hero section with video image. See, I didn't have to say that. It just kind of figured that stuff out. And so now I'm going to look at this prompt and see what it says. So build a visually stunning modern website for my personal film studio side gig that exudes cinematic storytelling and creative professionalism. And I'll kind of scan through here, but it's going to create a hero section, a full screen hero section, bold modern typography. This is the kind of things that you would have had to laboriously explain and possibly forget if you were talking to a developer. And if you leave anything out when you're talking to a developer, you're not getting it, right?
exactly.
You just don't get it. And then they say, well, you didn't ask for it. So this way you can really, and I'm not done, right? Like I'll read this, I'll look at it, and then look, in technical aesthetic, it's kind of talking about modern frameworks, Flexbox grid. You don't have to know what these things are, but you can start to learn, right? Like, and I recommend that. Like, don't just immediately copy paste. Like, take a minute to read this and learn this. Like, this would have taken a long time to write, so take 10% of the time it would have taken you to write it to read it, and
Yep.
then and now you can iterate on it. You can say, actually, I was thinking something like this, or my colors are like this, and my brand is like that. And then when it is finally done with, you take this, um, and you copy and paste it into Studio. I'm into Cursor. I just paste it right into that composer window. I'm just curious what this does. Let's just start to see what happens here.
I always cross my fingers when I put in these prompts. Like,
Yeah,
come on,
you can
show me
you
something
can
cool.
you can always delete and undo, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's the coolest thing about this. It's going to produce stuff that would have taken any developer at least a full day to write. At least whatever this produces in the next 30 seconds, it would have taken not only that long to create, but even longer to just write the requirements for.
I
Right? I
also
wouldn't
noticed
just.
that I also noticed it's updating the learning log in real time
Yep.
on the left there.
Exactly. And if you keep these files running here, you can kind of scan through them and see what's changing and get a sense of like what's going on. And if you want, you kind of jump back into the learnings file from time to time and see how it is learning, right? And it just keeps this thing going. It's awesome. And
Now,
then so
do you have to accept it for it to
yep.
start doing
So
code?
look at this. These are
Oh,
the
wow.
files it's going to create. So when I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
say accept, it's going to blast them out. Watch. And there's some things I do here that I'm not showing technique wise that I would recommend doing, but these are the main things. Like one thing I would have done up front is I would have gone ahead and had it install GitHub. I create a GitHub account, create a GitHub project. GitHub lets you version. It lets you save these things, and it lets you, you know, download it onto another computer or roll back to an old version. If you start doing this just on the fly without any kind of version control, it could, you might have something working 1 minute and then it breaks the next minute. So what I'll typically do is I'll have this, look at this, this is building files. Um, I'll have it components, styles. Hang on, I'll expand this so everyone can see. I
Yeah,
will have
it's
it.
almost like go grab a snack while it's doing this for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, 100%. Or sit here and learn, whatever.
Hmm.
Um, but it's just building files, right? Like and then I just accept. Boom. Here, I got a hero CS. I got a main index file. Like this is pretty simple, to be honest. Like this is a very simple website,
Hmm.
but I bet you this would have taken at least a couple days of back and forth requirements gathering, thinking through. Like if I wanted to work with a real developer and hand over them a document that produced what we're about to see here. Um, it would have taken me at least a day or two of just the requirements part and the research and maybe gathering the screens and showing them much more detail. I'd probably produce a document that was 10 times longer than that prompt. And it would have taken them, they would have told me it would have taken a week, but it'd probably take a day or two to develop. um, and then, and then I get basically this, but that I got in what, 5 minutes?
Hmm.
So let's just see how this works. So the initial setup for the project, they put it in the learning, the necessary assets, create the remaining. I will need to. Okay, create the remaining CSS components. Would you like me to create any of the remaining components? Also note you'll need to add video file for the hero set. Okay, so here's another cool thing. I'm very interested in paying for Claude now.
I find that Claude is more superior in coding.
Yeah. Yeah. I did a programming test. Did I send that to you?
Yeah.
I did a programming assignment for building a maze and trying to find the most efficient way out of it. Um, See, every time I say something, it's going to like come back with a ton of file changes. Sometimes it'll come back to me with like a command that I have to run in terminal. This is a very basic website, so it hasn't had me do anything like that yet. But it's like, oh, okay, I better get serious here because Aaron wants to see this homepage. So I'll accept those changes. Open the index file in a web browser. So let me get to my, let me get to here. So this is just my not my Finder window, my Windows Explorer. Sorry, I'm getting reused to PCs again. It created this index file. Let's just see what happens. Boom.
Look at that.
Home, about, portfolio. I bet these don't go anywhere because I just wanted the home. Oh, look at that. They do, sort of. Look at that. I mean, it created a
Yeah.
form. I mean, this is very basic, but it's got sliding. It's got full screen. It looks cool. Like right off the bat, it looks cool. And I just basically said nothing. I just said make it a cool
Right.
website. So just imagine if you sat here and talked to it forever, which is what I do, by the way. I mean, I'll just sit here and go through this process for hours, and I can do that. That's like in me, and that's not in everybody. But I can sit right here until 3 in the morning drinking Red Bulls and just talking to computers. And my wife thinks I'm an insane person.
And no,
Um,
this video is not sponsored.
brought to you by Monster Energy Drinks. Um, so let's do something
And
cool.
ice water.
And, yeah. Um, oh, so can you use AI or other image or video placeholder content?
I was
Just
going to
ask
say
it.
sometimes I ask it to use something from Unsplash.
Yeah, or there's a bear one. I can't remember the name of it. Let's just see what it comes back with.
Yeah.
And then when it's your real website, you're gonna go get the videos, the content. You're making the stuff like that's what makes your website is the content, not the structure in the shell. Is the stuff that you put in the shell. It's the hero image that's an actual image of a video you made as your production company.
Yeah, it looks like
Um,
it's using Unsplash in the code there.
okay, cool. So let's accept that. So you can see here that it's what files it's creating, or you can see how many like lines it's written, or how many changes it's made in each one of those. Let's see. Cinematic. I have no idea what this thing is going to do. Let's just, yeah, something's not working. So here's what I'll do. I will, oh, that was interesting. Look, little
Oh
mouse
yeah,
overs.
you got little hover cards.
Yeah. So I'm just going to say, here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to learn the, I'm going to back up. This is another must have tool or something in your toolbox. It's the dev tools in Chrome. You go to inspect, and you have all these tabs that help you debug these applications. This first tab is called Elements, and it's basically as you're mousing over, if you click, whoops, if you had this docked like a smart person. So as you're clicking around on the website, you see it's just finding the part of the code underneath it. Like, look at all this code, by the way. Like, look at all the stuff that you would have had to have written. Um, just all the divs, all the CSS, everything. So okay, anyway, it's got a problem. So let's get Vanilla Ice in here and solve it. So what is the problem here? We have let's not even worry
It's
about
not able to load that image. So my curiosity would be, is that actually a valid image link?
yeah. And you may think to do that, and you may not think to do that. See, it's not. You're right. It's
Yeah.
just not it that. So I wonder why. So I guess this is a technical thing. Like this is sort of a cheat because you and I would know to do this. Somebody might not know to do this. So I'm going to give you a more generic answer. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say close inspect. I love doing. If you're on Windows, you can use the snippet tool. If you're on Mac, it's got its own built-in thing. I'm going to look anything I don't like. I'm going to come over here, and I'm just going to come back to cursor, and I'm going to paste that in, and I'm going to say images and vids aren't loading. What's up with that? You can say
For beginners too, this is what you call multimodal with the large language models. So it recognizes images, text, audio,
right,
etc.
right. Yep. So, yeah, so it's looking at that image, it's kind of thinking it through, it's doing some reasoning, it's going to figure out. Maybe it comes to the same conclusion that Brian did. Let's see. Issue might be a cores issue. Well, let's just accept those changes. Let's assume that the developer, the person new to developing, doesn't really know what the problem is. This is iterative, right? This is there. Look,
There
I,
you
di-
go.
I didn't know anything about your 404s. I didn't know anything about HTML. All I did was screenshot the problem. This is the pattern, right? Ask it to do something, test that something, give it feedback. Give it the error, give it the uh, screenshot, copy and paste stuff. Like you can give it a million things and say, "Hey, it's not working," and then it'll come back with another suggestion, and then that suggestion you just keep doing it, right, and until you get what you want. But look at this, man! Like I'm already getting a portfolio with like cool images and these like rounded boxes and I bet you this doesn't work yet, but this is where we get started, and this is just a single page application. But look how smooth and awesome that is.
That is
Uh,
really nice.
right? And I barely any work. Now let's get fancy. Now I want. Okay, let me tell it. Let me give it the good feedback. Always give it good and bad feedback. I'm gonna say first of all, I'll say don't forget to update your learnings file. Well, first let me say it worked!
Good job.
Exclamation mark. So I'm giving it feedback, right? Reinforcement learning. I'm telling it you did a good job, but don't forget to update your learnings file with what you just learned. Now I want. And don't feel bad about giving it like 5 things to do in one prompt. I don't really recommend that as much. The more granular you can get, the more kind of focus you can get, the better. But now I
Just
want,
just a tip of mine, Aaron. When you do give it multiple things, I've learned with most of the LLMs, it helps if you actually put them in a numerical sequence. So,
yeah,
like, I need you to do these 5 things. One, blah blah
yep.
blah. Two, blah blah blah.
Oh,
That
that
way,
reminds me.
that way, it actually has a punch list to work against.
Exactly. You read my mind, and I meant to mention this. That's a great point, and that's actually one of the first things I will have it do. I usually ask ChatGPT to produce that exact same thing into the original prompt, but let's just come here and do it. So I want your full plan of action to turn this static site into a dynamic site that I can update with administration tools. Administration tools. You know what I might do? I'm going to go back out to ChatGPT because ChatGPT will give me a better prompt. So let's hop back, and this is just go back and forth, go back and forth. Um, I want your full plan of action to turn this static site into a dynamic site that I can update with administration tools that I log into. And I'm not telling it I wanted a database, but that's what's going to happen, right? I'm basically taking it from being a static site to a full stack site. So it's going to be a server, and it's probably going to install Node and a SQL database. So let's just see what happens. But remember, I'm trying to be somebody, I'm trying to adopt the mentality of somebody who has never walked into this. If you're a developer and you already know that you want a React app with Node.js and PostgreSQL database, and you want this and you want that, feed it in by all means. I mean, you're going to get further much faster. But if you don't know, you can just speak in normal terms, business terms, right? Your basic requirements, and it
Uh,
will
pre- pre-
interpret that.
Pretend I'm a photographer and I want to get my stuff online and I want to have something I can build and manage on my own easily.
Exactly.
What we've done here within a couple of minutes, you literally have your landing page all built out. Now it's a matter of going in and iterating on it.
Yes. For my portfolio. So this is just think of this as like your nephew that knows how to code, but he's not quite mature enough to understand the world of your business, right? Like he just knows how to code, right? And so that's the kind of the same cursor is. Now this thing ChatGPT helps you to develop the language to talk to your nephew to build the thing, right? Like now all of a sudden you have a translation layer that turns your speech or your thoughts into something that he understands for my portfolio. So, so we were talking about the full plan of action. So I want the full plan of action. I want it in a checklist format with green checkbox emojis for all the steps that have been completed. And I'll say cursor will update those as we go. Break it into several large sections, but with lot as many what do we call them, sub steps as necessary to complete. the project. Tell Cursor how to use this checklist and to create a file that it can constantly check and update.
And so by doing that, you're essentially doing the same thing that you did to tell it to create the learning file, but you're going to have that be part of what ChatGPT gives you as a prompt.
It's like a project management file,
Yep.
right? It's like, watch this. I'm working on a checklist. Convert to, okay. I should have said, pretend you're a project manager. Wow. Oh, hang on. Where's, it's long, man. Okay. Below which section, this checklist is assigned. Okay. Okay. I'm just gonna almost blindly copy and paste this and just trust that it's right. I don't really recommend that. I really recommend you read these things because garbage in, garbage out, right? Like whatever, if I just blindly copy and paste this and it says something stupid, it's gonna do something stupid. It's that simple. So I come over here and hopefully this is going to result in a file that shows up over here that I can, um, it doesn't scroll down to where it's actually doing the work. So I like to do that. But I pasted that giant thing in. I come down here, wait for it to basically come back to me. And hopefully it's going to result in a project file, some sort of checklist that I can go over here and I can constantly go back and look at that file. I can see where it's at. And another thing I'll have it do, oh, look, that's so cool.
I already see some check marks in there too for stuff
Yeah,
that it says that it
yeah,
already did.
there it is, project checklist.
Yep.
Isn't that
Create
freaking
basic
cool?
file structure. Yeah, I saw the create file structure,
Testing.
CSS.
Yeah, like it's
What?
already done a bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Um, all the green means it's stuff that it just created, by the way. I have to accept it for that green to go away. So I'll just accept that. This is a good opportunity to look at it and say, is this what I meant? So I want a basic website. I want core styling, media integration, set up and loading states, fallbacks, optimize media for different screen sizes. That's awesome. Smooth scroll, hover effects, performance, cross browser, content management. Create an item management system. That's going to result in a database. Admin dashboard, um, contact form backend. So it's going to flesh that out. I'm going to say, don't forget the login ability. I'm just going to accept that change, and then I'm going to ask it to do that. See how it all went from green to black? That's because I accepted it. So I can always just jump back to this or jump to my learnings file and constantly just see where I'm at in my journey, right? And I'm going to show you something else I do that helps a lot because it gets in these loops. Like when things start getting complicated, like they're about to get, it has the potential of like disappointing you, right? You'll ask it to do something. You'll ask it to create a database or some Python files or something, some program, some script, and it doesn't do something or breaks something. And what I'll do is I'll take the output, the thing I didn't like, just like I did before when I did the screenshot, but I'll take the error that I got in the terminal window, I'll paste it in, and I will say, in this project file, I want sub steps of all, for the focus area you're working on, I want you to put all the things you've tried and a little sentence that explains why you tried it and what failed. And then review this. And don't go in circles. Like if you tried it and it failed, don't do it again.
Right.
And if it starts to do that, you can just say, hey, man, you might want to go review your learnings file or review the project file. Just like a
Reprimanded.
human, right? It's just like a human. So look, I asked it to put a login, so it updated the project file with authentication and user management and an admin dashboard set of changes. All right. Awesome. Get to work. Oh, let me add that one part. Awesome. Okay. Next thing. Oh, this is also important. I only want you to give me one command at a time, not 5 command lines. Um, not at a time. The reason is because if it gives you 5, and I do 1 and it works, and I do 2 and it works, and I do the third one and it blows up, well, I got to go get that error and then I got to paste it in, and then it doesn't know if I completed step 4 or 5. It doesn't know if I didn't do. I don't know if it knows. Like, I kind of get into an unknown state. So I prefer not to do that. I prefer to just say, okay, do this, and be decisive. And I'll say that. That could get us into a weird state. And this is just a prompt I would recommend you just copy this prompt and use it in every one of your projects right up front. You could do it now, do it later, whatever. But at the point in which you tell it this, it will stop giving you like tons of options at one time. So,
Well, they've gotten faster over the last couple of years. It used to be that you'd wait for it to type it out, but now it's just like they can
oh, I
put
know.
20 they can put 20 command line snippets on the screen in like a second.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can't stand that. So let me think. So we got to do the, and so here's what's going to happen. I will take your suggested command and run it and give you the feedback each time. And if it is negative, I want you to update learnings file and the project file with all of your failed attempts. Once it does work, and I will confirm that, note the thing that did work. Okay, off you go. Finish my site. Give me the next thing to do.
So it's kind of like how in development we call it scaffolding a project. This is kind of like scaffolding a conversation with an LLM to do coding for you.
Yeah.
You're telling it, learn stuff, put it in this file, keep a checklist over here, keep track of that in this file. Don't respond to me this way. I prefer that you do it this way instead. Did this work? Did it not work? So you're kind of setting the foundation of how you want this conversation iteratively to go back and forth between the two.
Yeah. Or even I think of it like setting up your development procedures.
Yeah.
Right. When imagine you had a development company that is in charge of building this whole thing, and you're the owner. Well, it's your job to make sure that those people communicate properly. So
Yep.
it's your processes, your procedures, your hiring practices to get the right kind of people that know the right kind of way to communicate, that will result in success or failure.
Yep.
So, okay, we have our first command, right? And I was saying that if you're on a Mac, I could just run this, but if I click this, it won't work. Oh, I forgot to tell you I'm on Windows. That'll work on Windows, but some of these commands won't. Only give me Windows PowerShell commands. And don't put comments in them. They love to put comments in them above them and put them on one line. You'll see why.
And it seems like this type of stuff right here is something that you could do at that outset that you did at the very
That's
beginning.
right. That's right.
And that
You
would
know,
have gone into the learnings file, and they would know,
yeah. If I had prepared for this a little better, I would have had a framework file, and that's probably something I should do. Is create a framework file that I use for every project, and I just go to Google Docs. I grab my framework project file. I paste it into ChatGPT, and then I fill in the chunk of text that is different about that project. Like here, but here are the things that are the same no matter what you do. Like always follow this project format. Always create a learnings file.
Yep.
All that stuff. So here we go. Now I have a Windows command. Oh, wait a minute. Why is it doing the? It's not.
I think that's because you told it to do PowerShell commands.
I know, but it's not. It doesn't usually do this. Give it to me in the code block that can copy in cursor.
I like the at the beginning of
I love talking to it. Like
hello.
it knows that I'm kind of aggravated when I say stuff like that. And then I'll say, if it makes me mad, or if it not mad, if it does the wrong thing, remind it to use the learnings file. Like, remember, I'm on Windows. Remember, there, give it to me in a code block format. So now I get this little copy prompt, and now I can go. Now, where do I have to be to do this? I have to be in my main folder. So I go to here. I go to my code. I go to my personal website. I ls does a list. These are all my files so far, and I'm just going to paste that command that I just copied over here. It created the directory, and I just come over here. Oh, and what I'll do at this point, what I'll do is I'll launch these kind of side by side. So now I have I'm just I don't even have to look at code. I could just close. I don't know how to close that, but I can close this guy if I wanted to. If I don't really, I just want to talk to this thing, and I want the feedback here, and then whatever it gives me, I'm gonna paste it in. I'm gonna copy the whole thing, and then I don't even have to say it worked or it didn't work. All I do is give it the feedback. This is the loop, right? Every time it has you run a single command, you copy the command, you paste the command, you paste the output, you copy the output, you paste the output, and then you cross your arms and you drink your Red Bull. And if you have the money, go ahead and pay for the extended version of whatchamacallit, Claude. All right, new path. I see it's updating the project checklist. All right. Hopefully, it's not going to be a million of these, like single little things.
I mean, one new thing I've learned here, Aaron, is the idea of the learnings file, and even setting up the foundational guidelines, if you will. Like, don't talk to me like this. Give me these types
Right.
of responses.
Yeah. Yeah. These are things that I kind of figured out and the way you'll figure it out and the way other people will figure this out is by doing it over and over again and thinking about it like your little nephew, right? Like thinking about it like a person with your critical thinking, like, okay, I need to get this done. Like, let's not assume too much. Let's give it as good of information as possible. Let's think about like what it's doing and how to best make it work, right? Like, if you start going in a loop, it's like, well, how do I solve that loop? And one thing you can do is either go here and say, hey, man, you're just going in loops. Like, what could we do to prevent going in loops? And it might suggest to put a learnings file out there, right? Or go to ChatGPT. If you start getting frustrated here, come out and go to ChatGPT and say, listen, I'm getting really frustrated. I keep trying to do the same thing. I'm just stuck in a loop. Like, what do you think I should do? Give me some ideas. So think that way and just constantly be solving the problem at hand. And the problem isn't always like, how do I do the next thing to make this website come up? The problem could be just working with the tool, right? Like, how do I get around that? Okay, great. Now let's create the login page. This is a whole lot of like new item creation. I'm going to say, can't you just create all these?
Good point.
Like, why are you having me create it? Maybe like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a dumbass. Sometimes it gets like that. Like, don't make me do the work.
I picture having an actual developer next to me, and I say,
Yeah,
I need you to build this website for me, and they're like, oh, okay, I can do that.
yeah.
And then
One that doesn't get emotional,
it just,
doesn't get
yeah,
there. Look,
yeah,
you were probably right. Now it's like, oh yeah. Did it even explain why? You're absolutely right. I apologize for the inconsistency. I probably screwed it up. It's so polite. Like, even if I'm the dumbass, it still like falls on its own sword. Let me know if you'd like to create the dashboard. I'll update the learnings file with what we've done so far. Um, yeah, let's accept that. All right, and I'm gonna say, don't put too much in the learnings file because it only has so much of a context window. That's a window of its awareness, so to speak.
yeah.
Uh, for every granular thing, just the key learnings that you actually have along the way based on failures and such. Um, yes, update the project checklist. Always update the project checklist.
This is good though, because I think it shows people like, even when we started out the whole thing, you had all the greatest intentions and you had a great foundation set up and built. But as you go through and ideate with this, you realize, oh, let's do this instead, or let's tweak this behavior a little bit. Let's change
Yeah.
this,
I
So
learn every
yeah,
project too. Like I'm learning, it's learning. The learnings file help it learn. A thing I didn't tell it to do that I like to also have it do is I like to, if it ever tells me some new command that it hasn't shown me before or a new tool that it wants me to install, instead of it just saying install this, I say right before I give me 1 to 2 sentences of an explanation of what it is and why I need that tool, so that I can kind of learn as I go. All right, so it updated the projects file, it updated the learnings file, it's created a bunch of stuff. Okay, where are we? Let's just open the projects file. So here we are. Remember, we can always just come back to this. Now I'm going to have it put like something that lets me know where we are at any given moment, like the focus area. Can you make the current focus area clear with steps for each thing we've attempted? You know what else is cool about this? If you get another programmer involved, you just hand this to them and you show them, this is what I did every step of the way. Here's my cursor, history. Oh, would you like me to proceed with creating the dashboard next? So I'll remember that. See, I don't like it to just kind of randomly tell me what it's doing next. I want to be able to come back to the project checklist and see what we're doing next. Like, what area are we in? Because you can get lost. I get lost, right? Like in a big project, it's like, where the hell are we? We've done a million tasks and we've gone back and forth. And that becomes kind of rote and mind numbing when you go back and forth, especially if you're iterating on one problem for too long. So let's just look at the the project checklist. That blue thing is where we are, I think. Yeah, current focus. Oh, current focus. It's put a little magnifying glass or something. Authentication and user management. So let's just do something really simple. No, let's just create a database. Let's just work on the content management part. I want to see the ability to upload a file and see it. All right. So updating the project file. It's going to focus on the upload system. It's going to remove things. It's going to add things. Boom. Let's start by creating an upload functionality. Would you like me to create the upload form first? Sure. It's going to give me a command, probably. I mean, it'll create files and stuff. It might not give me a command until it needs a database or it needs more technology. Project checklist. Yeah, there we go. Look how lovely that is. So I can just sit here and look.
Beautiful.
Isn't that nice? I mean, look at that. I can just sit here and just keep this open the whole time. I can open. I can just alt tab over to my terminal. Get back to my project checklist. Let me know if this is created successfully, and we'll proceed with the HTML and JavaScript components. Accept. Go for it. I don't get, the only feedback I give it is when it has me run a command or it has me test something on a visual website or something, and then I'll either grab a screenshot or I'll grab the console error logs or the terminal shell feedback, and then I'll give it to it. Otherwise, I'm just like next, 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 next. When it's writing code, I don't really, unless it says stop and take a look at it. I just tell it to keep going. I created the upload form HTML and JavaScript. Let's add a section. Let's create a JavaScript for handling, blah, blah, blah. So you can test it now. So we're going to just go back to our index file, double click it, come back over here. Notice that it's also responsive.
Yep.
Oh, look at here, drag and drop.
Hey,
Let's go to my favorite folder.
be careful what folder you pick.
This is a brand new computer, so I don't have that many things. My space shit folder. Look, isn't that cool? Did it upload it? Where's the upload button? Okay. You're getting another. Okay. It didn't clearly upload it or have a button for that. I expect, this is where you talk about expectations. I expect that I would drag and drop it onto a page and click upload, and it actually goes somewhere. That I can see. We're just iterating. If I had given it much clearer, I mean, and normally I would be like, all right, I want to be able to go to, when I log in as an administrator, first I want a login button. When I click login and I log in, my user should be an administrator. And then when I'm an administrator, whoever's an administrator, it takes you to /admin. And then under /admin, I want to be able to see a option to upload. And then, like that kind of thing. Or you could say, when I log in as an admin, I want to be able to do it in line. Like if I want to navigate to the part of the website where I want to upload something, and there should be a special button there that says replace this item. And I click that, and a file thing pops up. I select it, and boom, it swaps it out. So those are up to you. Add a clear upload button, blah, blah, blah. Wasn't even paying attention. Let's just refresh the page. Look, drag and drop or click to browse.
Oh, it even gives you a title and description fields.
I didn't even ask for that. There, add that spaceship. That's not a female version. It's the back version. Description. I'm not gonna go to description. Let's see what happens. Look at that.
Huh.
That was dope. Now where is it? Oh look, it's in my
Holy
portfolio,
crap, it actually worked.
and it's no database either.
I didn't think that was going to work.
I know. Ye of little faith.
I like the
That's
little
not.
progress bar too. That was pretty slick.
Well, it's a whole lot easier to build sites and technology that doesn't require all the stack, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure just use some basic library. Wow. So anyway, this is,
I mean, yeah, we could go on and on. I mean, and
know.
then by the
Like,
end of the night, have a fully funcking
yeah.
site
I just want
put out
everyone to
there. This
notice
is awesome.
I didn't write a line of code. I didn't need to know any code. I didn't know even know about the concepts of code. If you follow that exact pattern, you'd have this website. So we'll go through some more advanced stuff next time. Maybe we'll play around with some browser extensions or iOS apps. But I just wanted to kind of give some of that like framework, that sort of framework guidance. Um, and we can link to a sort of a cheat sheet of that stuff in the video too. So,
Yeah, and
but
I'd say thanks, Aaron, for sharing some of these tips and tricks with us. I
of
know for
course,
someone like myself who tends to be an ideas guy, but is not a developer, and it's always been frustrating for me over the years to have lots of great ideas and to not be able to turn any of those ideas into something
yeah,
without getting approvals from 3 layers of management to get development resources attached and UI,
right,
UX designers. And something like this gives me the ability to take my idea, spend a couple hours each day just kind of iterating on it. And in the end, I would end up with something pretty sweet to show.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go show. I mean, I'm showing this to my wife right now. She might want one of these. Well, I appreciate you having me on, man. This has been a great talk, and
Yeah, it's been fun.
we'll chat soon.
Have an awesome weekend.
See you, buddy.